because you hear the cliche of you want to make God laugh, tell him what your plans are. That was me. That was definitely me. Family law is what fit me the most. I was a single mother. I was relatable to about 90% of the population that's located in Dallas County.
Mm.
Why not me was the question. So
Come
when I
on.
think about family court, I'm a wife, I'm a mother, I'm a daughter, I'm a sister. Family is the foundation for me. That was the foundation how I was taught how to love. I was taught how to be compassionate, show empathy to other people, show grace because I grew up in church and I'm still in church, right? So when I take my foundation of what family means to me and I transition it into family court, I bring some of those foundational elements with me. These people do not want to be in family court. A lot of these people have been married for years, going through a divorce. It's a public forum. Their
Mhm.
entire, if they've been married 20 years, their entire 20 years is reduced down into a year's worth of chaos, right? They don't
Yeah.
want to be there. So the least I can do is bring in those foundational things that I was trained and learned on, as a child, the love, the compassion, the empathy, the grace, and bring that into the family court segment. I love people. I truly care about people. So I believe that this was the very thing that I was supposed to be doing. I was in the right place at the right time. God gave me an assignment, and I want to make sure I execute the assignment, which brought me to family court.
All right. I love it. I love it because, again, I never thought of family court. And I worked, I was a counselor at a group
Mhm.
home for years. And so I know all those kids had to deal with family court. And I never really, I focused on what was in front of me. And so I never even really thought about family court. And I never knew that people ran for family court, like that you could run for family court judge. And this is
Oh,
what I'm
yeah.
saying about our voice. Like, so
Mhm.
how many years did I forfeit any voice, not only for me, but maybe for my neighbors who were in family court? You know what I'm saying? Like having some say so, some representation. That's what I'm talking about. Representation. Like,
And
stop playing. Come on with it.
the
It's
other part
organic.
of that, and the other part of that, Sharon and Vonda, is that just think about what it means to a child of color that is in that situation, or a woman, say, and they don't see a representation. That means something. And I mean, I used to also volunteer for one of the museums here in Tulsa, the Philbrook Museum, as a matter of fact. And that is a museum that's set in a villa style of a home, an Italian villa. And so the art in there is from the Renaissance period and the Baroque period. Okay. And so when I first went into that setting, I told the children, the African American children or Native children that were in my group, the very first thing I told them was that what we're going to see a bunch of art, what we call art, paintings on a wall, but you're not going to see a representation of the skin color that you and I are, because we weren't the ones that painted the pictures, right?
Come on.
But there are other areas in the museum that we'll go to and we'll see that reflection because those people look just like us, right? And so they were like, oh, okay, you know, cool. And so I always think about, through the lens of a child, what does it look like when they see me come into the room, right? It's like, oh, okay, I'm good. You can ask certain questions. And when we go back to voting, one of the things that I didn't understand is like, what's a precinct, right? And does precinct sound like a police station? And if you're talking like that to a group of young people, that especially in an urban environment, and you say precinct, that's the only thing they know about a precinct is the police station,
Police station. That's
right?
Agreed.
what I would think.
And not being able to translate the language from one part to another, I think has been a bit of a fault of not only the African American community, but I'm always going to say Native community as well, because we get out of the community and we learn all this stuff, but we sometimes don't take it back into the community and break it down into translatable language so that the community understands. Because it's not about you not, having the smarts. It's about you don't have the information. This is what I appreciate about your platform, Sharon.
Yeah, and listen, we're here to give out the information. That's what I love about even what I get to do. The guests, the panelists, they don't have to agree with me, but we all bring what we bring to the table, and we say, and people can make an informed decision.
That's
right.
right.
An informed decision. And to me, even what you said, like precinct. Yeah, most kids in the urban areas will be like, that's police, they down at the precinct. Okay. And they know that. And there's nothing to challenge that. It may be more to that because they've already assigned a meaning to it. And so we do need that representation.
And look, they don't know what's going to happen when they go into that building. They don't know if somebody's waiting in there or something, if it's a setup or something. Nobody knows.
But listen, I love where we are
even
now.
when you look at high school students running for office, it starts right there. When you're in high school and you start running for class president or whatever, what's happening? I mean, that's the building blocks right there. That's where it should be. That's where it should start. It's like when you're in high school and there's some kind of voting apparatus going on, right? Get in there. That's it. You have, that's your voice right there.
And in 2022, I do want to say this. This is why not just the presidential election and not your voice, your vote. There are schools that they don't have student councils anymore.
Nope.
So there's nothing to tell you about the power of voting if it's not in the curriculum. But hey, let's do this. I opened this up to one of my small groups because I wanted to be able to post the comments and it wasn't like allowing. But I see that we're getting some comments still, just in this very small group. Let's do this. I want to take this commercial break. Let's take this commercial break. Well, wait, right before we take the commercial break, guys, I want to let you know who we have with us today. We have Vonda Bailey. Vonda is actually running for judge in the Texas 255th District Court. She's on the ballot. She's in the Democratic
number
primary.
one on the ballot.
Number one on the ballot. That's right. That's right. The first name you see. Yes. So she's on the ballot and she's very passionate about family court. She's passionate about community, period. And so those of you go out there and vote. Vote for it. Early voting starts. Does it start next week?
On Valentine's Day.
Yeah. Yeah. Show your love right there. Valentine's Day. Show your love. Go out there, do that early voting. And we want to vote for Vonda Bailey. Again, she's running for the 255th District Court, family judge in that area. And we're going to we'll give you a promo there. Also, we have with us Vanessa Adams Harris, award-winning author, knows a lot about history. Just the times I've been able to just speak with her, I learn every time I talk to her. So don't slip. Listen, I learned so much about history and the origin of things every time I talk to her. And so, African-American, also Native American. So you are very aware of what it means to kind of have your voice stripped, and you study that history and you do what you do to bring voice. Representation matters. If at the end of the show, I say vote and you only think presidential election, I have failed you. I want us voting everywhere. They have the songs with elbows and you're like, I want this, I want you voting everywhere. If your grocery store has an election on what type of food to bring in, I want you voting on it because your family's going to eat that food. It does impact and it does affect. So now I'm going to get off my little soapbox there for a bit. Please share this video. You know what to do. Share this video. Share it to your different networks, your different demographics. But let's look at this video pretty quickly and find out a little bit more about Miss Vonda Bailey, entrepreneur, politician. Both of these women are advocates. But yeah, I'll quit talking now and we're going to do this video.
To whom much is given, much is required. Growing up in Oak Cliff made a huge impact on my life. As a child, my parents taught me to put God first, love others, give back to the community, be on time, be honest, and never quit. These characteristics have molded me into the woman I am today. From the role of a probation officer, to that of a single mother seeking child support, I have seen how quickly life can change, but more importantly, how you adapt to those changes. My journey through law school and now that of a family law attorney was no easy feat. One concept remained constant: change. Change was inevitable. Change was necessary to relate to my clients and to be empathetic towards their different situations. As a wife and mother of two, I had to change certain thought processes and attitudes that would enable me to do what is in the best interest of my family. Change is simply the modification of something to make it better. If you want to change things in a big way, you have to make big changes. Well, Dallas County, here's your chance for change. For family law drama, vote Vonda.
I love it. I love it.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
I love it. I love it.
Congratulations.
I love
Thank
the
you.
authenticity, and I love that you understand, you know, really what it is you're encouraging people to vote about. So how do we
Right.
fight the apathy? You know,
Huh.
how do we fight like the apathy and the disengagement? Like, I've acknowledged that I felt it. Vanessa, you were transparent. You said, hey, you know,
Mhm.
I'm late to the game, but I'm here and I'm playing, all hands on deck.
That's
How do
right.
we fight
That's right.
the apathy and the disengagement in our community?
Vanessa,
Yeah, go
did you
ahead.
want to go first?
No, I was just gonna say, you know, there are several ways to fight it, and one way is to actually have the dialogue in the community about what is it that we're missing, what is it that we know, or what we think we know. Because I oftentimes, I mean, I'm in a lot of dialogue sessions here at the center, and so one of the things that I really work hard on is being able to have people, being able to reach people. I mean, and reach everyday people, not, you know, those so-called important people who are important, but for people to have access to me even, right? In our school, one of our school board elections, I think last year, somebody lost by only 26 votes.
Oh,
26.
wow.
That's all they needed was 26 votes, and they could have won. And it was a generational shift that would have happened, right?
Wow.
I mean, that was like, that brought it so close to home for a lot of us. And we realized, man, so if you had just knocked on 26 more doors, or sent out 26 more flyers, or just 26, I mean, because it was only like 1,000 people voted. So he got 500, she got 526. That was, I mean, that was like, really? That it really does matter. I mean, it's like, really?
And
Wow.
your vote does count. Because you
Yes.
said that what they could have done to do the 26 more doors, but maybe 26 more people who was like, it's raining, I don't feel like going. No, get up and go.
I'm saying, yeah.
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 So,
I agree with Vanessa 100%. And to add to that, we have to make sure, you know, we are number one with what Vanessa just said, which was so important. We have to be willing to do the work as the candidate, whatever that looks like. I'm one of those people that do not like shoulda, coulda, woulda. I do not believe in it. So whatever it's going to take, that's exactly the steps that I'm going to take. Now the question is, how does that look? You know, you can't wait until it's time for you to run for a local election to want to start getting involved in the community. It starts early. It's going door to door, even with your neighbors, educating them about not just the importance of the election, but tell them what it is that they're going to be expecting. Explain to them why this is so important.
Mhm.
yeah.
Get to know them and ask them those questions, because a lot of times people don't really know what it is that really affects them until you start asking those probing questions to pull that information out of them. Another thing we have to do is get to know our public officials. We have to get to know them. We have to do research on them. Believe it or not, there are a lot of people in these positions that truly do not need to be there, whether that's by their actions of how they behave themselves in their role or how they behave themselves outside of their role. When
Come on.
actuality, you never really step outside of your role too much, because once you're a member or a leader of the community, people are going to always see you like that. So whether you're on the bench or whether you're at a football game, behavior outside of the bench speaks volumes to who you are on that bench. Because if you are a person that truly do not care about people, it shows. And these are the things that we need to make sure we're tasking people around us to do. After you do your research on your public officials, hold them accountable. Accountability is huge. People do not like speaking out against wrong until it's something major. Think about it. When and I bring this example up a lot. When there's an issue involving race with black and white, we will protest, we will show up. It's going viral on social media. It's doing all of these things, right? It's hitting the major news streams. But when someone right here in our own backyard as a public official violates someone's rights, we can't get it to trend. And not only can we not get it to trend, nobody wants to talk about it because they're afraid of the retaliation. Historically, Black people have lost their liberties, lost their freedom, lost their lives to stand up for what is right. So how dare we see wrong and acquiescence to it? That's the total opposite of what we fought for the past 400 years. So we have to be willing to speak up and stand out and put ourselves in the position. And that's the reason I got in the position. I saw a lot of things that were going wrong, not just the mistreatment of people that worked in the courtroom, mistreatment of litigants. The only way that I could be an agent of change is if I put myself out there and say, you know what, I'm going to do the work and do what it takes because I know I can do a better job.
Come on. I love that. And I listen again, that goes for every area. That's like, I have a friend dealing with her HOA. That goes for every area. You see these things, you see them. Come out from the water cooler, enjoy your water, but then come out, have the conversation in the break room, and then come out. I'm a member of a couple of associations, but one of them has like 40,000 individuals. In their last election, 1,200 people voted. 1,200 people voted. And most of those individuals are people of color, marginalized communities. You know, that just happens to be that industry. But I'm like, come out of just the break room. You know, yeah, we have the conversations, backdoor conversation, but come out and do something. And so be the agent of change. Be the agent. I'm so fired up off of that. But I'm a hush because I also feel like Vanessa may be fired up and have something.
And Vonda, I wanted to say that one of the things about your commercial that was so on point was that it was simple, right? It was simple and you were approachable. Not simple in the meaning that, oh, it was, you know, dumbed down, but it was regular. You know, it showed you as a regular person, right? And sometimes we want to put, because of this society that we've been raised in, and we think that certain people belong up on these pillars, we're not understanding that you have to actually have deserved to be put up there. And people have to put you up there, right?
Yeah.
And I think your commercial just communicates in a very simplistic form that I'm approachable, I'm deserving of this, and I want you to give me that opportunity to serve you. Because judges are servants, right? They are servants. And we are supposed to say, okay, this is what I demand of you. This is what I need from you. And if you're real to the community, like just to the human beings, then it's like, okay, because we actually need people that can fairly assess, right? For once.
Absolutely. and thank you, Vanessa. I really appreciate that. And that's what I want people to know about me. I am the hometown girl. You know, someone has said to me, you're a politician. I said, no, I'm a girl from Oak Cliff running for office. It makes a big difference because if people feel like or get this impression, oh, she's a politician, They don't want to come up and approach me. I want people to be able to come up and ask me questions,
Right.
you know, speak to me. Hey, can I get a picture with you? Can I get a
Mhm.
selfie? I grew up here. I'm not going to act like I'm too good to
Right.
even speak to people or do anything like that. So I do appreciate that feedback, and I'm glad that you received it like that, because that's exactly what my goal was.
Oh yeah, because we're, you know, as people in the community, we're supposed to not only lift you up, but then make sure that you know you're accountable to us, right?
That's
And so
right.
the
Yes,
best way
ma'am.
we can do that is to, you go to this church, okay, so let me go and check her out and see what she's doing there. Let me go and check her out and see if her word is her bond, even when she's off of the bench, you know, sort of thing. And people have to know that, yeah, you are accessible that way. That is the way it's supposed to work. It's not supposed to work this other way that it's been working. That is not the way it was supposed to work.
And
It's
that's
supposed
why
to work
we
the
are
way you are
fighting it.
presenting it.
That's why
Mhm.
we're fighting that apathy and that misinformation and that misrepresentation, period. For so long, even in media, you know, people of color sometimes had misrepresentations. Even women, you know, everybody, the person painting the picture is painting what they see. And like you said, when
Thank you.
someone goes in there and they're able to see themselves, I tell people all the time, if I can see me, I can be me. And they kind of laugh, but I'm saying, no, if I can see me, I can be me. So I understand. I understand visibility. Learning it too, but I'm understanding like visibility because I'm full on adult. But when I see you, Vanessa, and when I see you, Vonda, I get fired up. I get fired up.
Yeah.
That little 5-year-old me, I get fired up over that. You know what I'm saying? Because what? Let's go. Let's put it out there, because then that shows to many others. But can we please talk about voting and voice? And Vanessa, I want to start with you about why you feel like it's so important for people not to lose their voice. And I want us to talk about it not just in the political arena, and we're going to circle back to the political arena because I myself don't even know all of the areas that are influenced by politics.
Oh, everything.
Everything, yeah.
So, Vanessa, why
Yeah.
are you, why
You're
do you feel like
born political. In America,
Okay.
you are born political automatically. It's automatic. It is.
I get it. I
Even
get what
when,
you're saying.
you
I
know,
was gonna be like,
during
no, you're not, but yeah, I get it.
no, during the institution of slavery, that was you were a political pawn as a person of color. Native American people, that is a political pawn. In the Native American community, we understand very well that that is political. You are a political being automatically because you're a sovereign nation.
Can you expound on that a little bit? Can you help me?
As a
You like
sovereign
it?
nation,
You
you
like
are
it's so
under. We
simple,
are
but it's
under
not to me.
right. It's not simple because you're talking about a nation within a nation. We were already, you know, our people were already here on this continent, already here, and we were colonized, taken over by another group of people. Act of war is a political act. That is a political act.
Now it makes sense to me why they fight and why there's so much things about the redistricting. But until you said that, I was always like, if we still can vote, we can still vote. But I get it now.
No, if in our government classes we were really understood, and in our civic classes, if we really understood treaty agreements, what a treaty is, what an agreement is, a contractual agreement of how we're going to manage each other and treat each other and respect or disrespect each other. If we really understood that, we would understand so much more of how the United States of America works, right?
Wow.
But we missed that crucial component because Native people, we are still under a treaty agreement.
Yep.
We are still guided by that from the federal government. We are governed people. Governed
Even
nation
in
of
2022.
people.
And this again,
yes,
this is why
forever.
we need our voice. Not and here before listen, if you're not Native American, don't you dare check out. And if you're not Black, don't you dare check out. And if you're not female, don't you dare check out. You lean in right here because these same principles and these same philosophies govern your professional organizations, your neighborhood organizations. Again, I'm back on the HOA. They govern so many organizations that follow the voting structure, even some religious organizations. Your voice,
Everything.
your voice represents you and your clan. Stop screaming at
And
the
the
wall and scream effectively using your
yeah,
voice.
the other thing, remember, I want everybody to remember that the other thing that your voice represents is it represents your hope, right?
Dang, that's
It
good.
keeps that alive for us, because this, in its essence, this is about survival, right? How do a people survive a constant attack on their humanity? How do you survive? And even when you're somebody like Vonda, who's gone through law school, who knows and understands the rules of engagement, and then she has to be able to walk that tightrope, right? Because now she knows what something really means, and trying to translate that into how I can help the community. I mean, that's everything right there. That's everything.
Vanessa nailed it. Oh, like I can't even follow up behind that. She literally,
You're
like
gonna be a judge.
she literally nailed it. Everything we do is political.
Yes.
And people, when they try to say keep politics out of it, there's no such thing.
Come on,
Politics
mic
is
drop.
involved. It's involved in everything that we do. You think about the birth of a child. Okay.
Yes.
When you birth a child, you have to sign a birth certificate saying what their name is.
Mhm.
You're issued a social security number. Okay. Your child has a monitor, leg monitor placed on them. Okay. Why is that? Why do these things happen? Politics plays into everything. They have to get immunizations before they can even go to school. Everything involves politics. You can never get away from it. What you have to do, the hardest task is when you're in any situation, you have to figure out how to maneuver. It really is a skill, and it takes education, because believe you me, there are so many things I want to say a lot of times.
Mhm.
So many things.
Yeah.
But it's not a matter of being politically correct. You just know when you're playing politics, you have to be very careful about the way you move. If you look at history with Martin Luther King, okay? Martin Luther King was a very influential, powerful man. Everything about him was politics. But what happened? He eventually was killed off, right? He was assassinated.
Mhm.
That didn't happen because he didn't know what he was talking about. What happened was he was getting too close to that tightrope that Vanessa is talking about. He was coming off that tightrope too much. Same thing with Malcolm X. And unfortunately, history repeats itself. And we see that time and time again with our leaders, especially our African American leaders. You have to walk that tightrope. But in walking that tightrope, you have to understand the key thing: you got to be true to self. No matter what, you have to be true to self. You have to tell the truth. But how you put the truth out there matters.
It matters.
The other thing on that, Vonda, is that when you say you have to know what you're talking about, and you have to be mindful of that speak. I think of the word strategy, right? A lot of times it's the strategy of how we maneuver and how we move, right? I was just in a meeting a couple of days ago, and I just couldn't hold my tongue, right? Because it was all men, right? And they were all and they were all Caucasian men, and they were talking just through that lens. And I had to say, what about women? What about women of color? And I just had to bring that forward. And afterwards, another man, a man of color, said, Vanessa, you probably should have just kind of spoon fed that information, right? You shouldn't have hit them with so much. And I was like, I can do that sometime, but then sometime it was just too obvious, so I just had to burst the bubble. I'm in the room. Sorry.
Yeah. And
but then I realized that we always have to be thinking about the strategy of when we're in the room, right? And I think where we have missed, going back on that point, I think what we have missed a little bit is in giving that strategy to younger and younger audiences.
Yes.
Right. And to teach our children and to teach our young people, period, that, and we make it sound like, oh, this is not the time for you to say that. You can say that, but you have to shape it in a different way, right?
Yep.
So that you can have a place you can come back to and then jump off again in another way.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
One of the programs, the leadership company UCDI facilitates, it's called Language Mastery, and it literally talks about that right there, because you don't want your message to be missed, and you don't want enemies. Here I am. I'm supposed to be hosting the show.
Right.
You don't want
gonna have that
enemies of
anyway.
your message to be able to use. What did you say, Vonda?
I say you're gonna have that anyway.
Yeah, you don't want enemies of your message to twist it against you, especially without you knowing. Yeah, you are going to have it anyway, but you don't want to be surprised by how they twisted it and then fed it back to you. And so language
That's why
mastery
strategy is so important.
Because, and then if it is fed back to you in a odd and twisted way, you have to stand, you have to be able to stand in that truth and then be like, no, this is what I actually said. And this is what I actually meant. But if the inference was this, then let's challenge where you're coming from to hear something like that I didn't even speak into existence. But that's how you inferred it. Not understanding what different words mean and being able to address that with people when you're in dialogue with them is another part of this. It's like,
and that's why we really are hitting all of these things here. We hit them year round, but Black History, we're really hitting it a lot, because that's the thing with unconscious bias. I'm like, it's unconscious. It's a blind spot. And so first off, you have to have somebody see what they've been blind to, and then we can grow. And that's if everyone involved wants to. So you guys have seen foolishness. Y'all seen some chaos. Hold on. You know what? I want to stop. I must stop right quick. I want to give a shout out to SIPS Consults, one of our sponsors, who minority owned, owned by a African-American female, been going around about, over 15 years now in a very male Caucasian dominated area, and still there, have given hundreds of people jobs now, just stimulating the economy, got schools. So, the fact that they sponsor behind the scenes too, it's not like a photo op. So I definitely want to give them their props and say thanks. We're going to take a real quick commercial break and do a shout out to SIPS Consults, and we'll be right back. And we're back. Thank you so much, SIPS Consults. You're looking at Knowledge or Nonsense. We're here with Vanessa Adams Harris, award-winning artist, activist, historian, always bringing knowledge. Vonda Bailey, lawyer, running for family court judge. So if you're in Dallas County, get out and vote. As we said, early voting starts February 14th. Love it. Love. Keyword 14th, Valentine's Day. Show your love. Go out and vote for Vonda. As we're coming back, though, on Knowledge or Nonsense about your voice, your vote. If at the end of the show we say vote and all you think is Republican, Democrat, again, I failed you. Your voice is the key to this entire thing and where you're going to intentionally lay your influence. So both of you women have had to, I know you've seen foolishness. Anytime you're in proximity to change, greatness, change agents, visibility, you see the good and you see that could have been better. How have you been able to push beyond like disillusionment and foolishness to the stuff that you've seen behind the scenes? Because everything you can't even call out in public, or you left holding that call out. So how are you able to push beyond that disillusionment? I'll start with you, Vonda. How are you able to push beyond the disillusionment? Vonda, I really want to ask how you are a lawyer. You have your resume is on point. Your history, your CV is on point, not just resume. Because you can have a resume without doing any work, just only education. The CV is on point. How are you able to push past the foolishness or even the dismissiveness that people may have when talking to you?
Well, for one, I respect everyone's opinion, and I take opinions with a grain of salt. I don't try to get combative with people. That's not my job. It's not my job to tell people how great I am. That's not anyone's job, actually. And it's not my job to convince people to like me because regardless to how they feel about me has nothing to do with me anyway. It's my job to make sure I stay focused on what the mission is, whatever the assignment is. And as long as I'm staying focused on that and being true to self, I can push through it. Now, granted, some situations or discussions may be harder than others, right? And for me, that's where strategy. I told you, you and I spoke offline about me being like a marketing guru and social media with algorithms and things like that. So I'm really good at capturing audiences and trying to get a message across. So the first thing that I do is when I need to get a message out, I have to know my audience. If I'm sending something through a social media stream, I know that that's going to be between a specific age group.
Mhm.
Even though people outside of that age group may be older or younger, depending on what I'm talking about, they're going to miss that message. So how can I reach them? So and that's why I have all the social media platforms. I understand Facebook now. Well, historically, Facebook used to be college students, right?
Mhm.
Right.
Now, older people are on Facebook.
Mhm.
So I want to capture this younger audience. How can I do that? I created a TikTok. I put the things on TikTok I know they want to see. People do not like to read.
Nope.
We have to understand that they do not like to read. You can put something in front of them and tell them they want $1 million. They will not read it and accept the money. It would just go unclaimed, right? So what I try to do, I created a YouTube channel about child support because I would send people to the book exactly where to go in the chapter to look it up. They would come back and ask more questions, which let me know they didn't read it. So what I did was I said, strategy wise, Vonda, how can you reach these people that have all of these problems? And child support plagues a lot of the minority community simply because they don't understand it. So I created the YouTube channel where I portray Judge Vonda B, the judge, and I reenact things that I seen in court. And at the end of that, I explained to people the educational part that I wanted them to see. And it's gone viral many of times. Now, granted, it's the same thing that's in that book, but my audience is not receiving it that way. So that's how, with particular audiences, I work through the foolishness on that. And ultimately, when you stay focused on your goal, you stick to your plan, whatever your strategy is,
Yes.
people are going to respect you and you're going to get a lot of support after the fact. You may get pushback at first, but as long as you stay true to that and don't let anyone take you off your game, you'll always be able to sift through and maneuver a lot easier through the foolishness.
Mhm.
Snap, snap,
Amen.
snap, snap.
Yes.
Vanessa, I met you through Barbara Spencer Dunn, Barbara Dunn with ASAL, just dynamic organization, headquartered in Washington, D.C. How do you push past things and not get disillusioned? I mean, you're in Oklahoma, you're in Tulsa. But I love my home state, but I know some of the challenges. How do you push past that?
Well, I'm a another full disclosure. I'm Native American and I'm African American, first of all, and so I've always known who I am in that regard. My father, a Native American, Muskogee Creek Indian, always told me exactly who I was, right, in the context of everything else. And so I know that is sometimes it's very unique when you have that kind of grounding, and it's both a tremendous honor and privilege, but it's also very sad because you meet people who don't seem to know how they fit into something. So I've always believed that I belong exactly wherever I want to be. And I taught my daughter
that a preach right there.
You belong there. What is it that you want? Let's go on in this room. It's no place you don't belong. And so what I try to do when I find myself doubting or questioning, I think about all those people who came before me, and I think about what did they do and how did they manage. And because I am who I am, and I feel like I should be able to ask any question of anybody that I meet, then one of those people that I asked that question of, because I lost my father when I was 12 years old, I had an opportunity to meet Dr. John Hope Franklin once when he came to Oklahoma. And sometimes, when Dr. Franklin, for those of anyone who doesn't know who Dr. John Hope Franklin is, he's a noted historian, I think one of our most important historians of our time, even though he passed away in 2009, born in 1915. He wrote From Slavery to Freedom as a book, just piggybacking on what Booker T. Washington had written also, as well as George Washington Williams, Carter G. Woodson, and all those great historians. Dr. Franklin then writes his seminary work From Slavery to Freedom that's published in 1947, and it's in its 10th publication today, right? So I met Dr. Franklin, and I met him like this. He was at an occasion at the History Center in the state of Oklahoma, and I was an anthropology student, and I ran up to him because nobody was escorting him, and so I know that I look good, and so I went and grabbed his arm, and he allowed me to, and I walked with him. And I took that occasion to say, listen, how can you write just so calmly about what all this stuff is about and what happened to Black people? How can you just sit down and explain that story and just talk about this happened and then this happened? And then and I was upset because I had encountered some things in the University of Oklahoma's library about my Indian family and how the president of the United States was talking to those Indian men. And I was just upset. And I went and I was asking Dr. Franklin, I'm like, how could you say that stuff like that? How can you just sit up and say, well, this is in North Carolina and 17 whatever, this is what happened. I'm like, how can you do that? And I just kept going on and on and on. And he said, stop that. You don't have time for that. Your job is to tell it just like you find it. He said, that's all you have to do. You don't have to add anything. You don't have to take anything away. We just need it to be told exactly how you find it. And I said, yeah, but it just hurt me so much when I saw. He said, how can it hurt you and it didn't happen to you? You can't feel worse than the people it actually happened to, and they survived, right? And so we are an oral, traditional group of people. As indigenous people to this land and indigenous people to the continent, we have an oral tradition and we understand. So when Judge Bailey says that, I'm gonna go ahead and put it out there. When Judge Bailey says that, you have to, people are not reading now, that means that we have something in our toolbox that we should not be ashamed of using, which is telling that thing. Right. And that's what Dr. Franklin was telling me. I felt like that was an ancestral connection in that moment, that he was like, you stop that. And when he told me that, I heard him because I'm talking to a colored man.
That is powerful.
And I heard what he was telling me on an ancestral level. Right. He was telling me and talking to me like he knew who I was. And he saw me in that moment, and he was like, wow. Just tell it. And that's why I'm just determined to just tell it. And I'm encouraging you, Judge Bailey, just tell it.
Wow.
Sharon, just tell it.
You know what? He shook you in the order, and he took that thing that you were using one way, and he said, no, this is the proper usage of it. And that's so funny because the lady I met you through, when I met her, I literally was doing a presentation and I went to my room. I redid the entire presentation because I was in a room full of people that looked like me and they had narratives that I'd never heard and never seen. Like nobody was talking about the cousin in jail and Leroy. No one was envious of the other. They were all successful and no one was elbowing for position or room. And I was so shook. I couldn't even really finish my presentation. I was just like, I don't know this narrative, But when I came out, I was like, I'm telling everybody. And when you hear me, I have been telling people ever since, because that shook me. That's
Yeah.
powerful. He said, stop that.
And I just
Nobody got time for that.
I just want to say that who you are talking about is you're talking about ASALH. ASALH is the Association for the Study of African American Life and History, established by Carter G. Woodson in 1915, right? In 1915, the man who created our Black history, right? The purpose of Black History Week, he was saying. And actually that week was supposed to be a week of celebration because the history is supposed to be taught every single day. But it's been kind of codified into this 1 month. And Dr. Woodson was like, no, the week is for a celebration about who you are, right? But the teaching of it should be every single day. And so we have to actually go back to those things that we know, because ASALH as an organization, its tenet, its mission is to really talk about and teach about African American culture and heritage, and don't apologize for it.
That's right.
That's it.
Listen, guys, it's we right at an hour. I love it. I love getting to do what I get to do. You know, like the first 10 or 15 minutes, we're following the questions and things. But here's the thing, you really get to see and know at people's hearts too, as we talk more and more. So I thank you all for spending this time with us. Essence, Karen, Susan, I thank you all even for like just some of the comments that have come through. I'm excited about this airing this upcoming Saturday here on Knowledge and Nonsense. Vonda, yes, you definitely have my vote as well. Please continue to do what you're doing. Please continue to help people know their voice, use their voice, and be intentional about it. I tell people all the time, like, I'm just so excited. I don't even know what to say, but I'm so excited. I cannot think of a better time to be me than right now, you know?
Agreed.
Exactly.
And I'm trying
if
to
I
help
may
change
say
things.
something else.
Yes, you may. Yes, you may.
Vanessa said something very key in her point when she was talking about voting for Barack Obama, because she was excited to cast that vote, right? Mm-hmm. Something else that we have to understand is this: we need to encourage people, train them up to be these leaders. Yep. Barack Obama was trained from a child to be a leader. So it was no surprise when he ran for Senate first and then President of the United States. He was trained as a child. When we train our children early, what happens is they have so much influence as a child. They progress through life. They make people excited to want to go vote for them. So that's what I saw with Barack Obama as well. So I share your sentiments, Vanessa. I was excited to vote for him, not only because he was a Black man, but I've been following this man like this. He got me fired up about voting. So I literally take pages out of Barack Obama's book about politics. How can I encourage and get these people excited? You will be surprised how many people text me. I literally just got a text. My cousin got a mailer in the mail that said, one of the commissioners said, vote for Vonda. And he's like, I'm excited to go vote for my cousin. That's what we need. We need to put that in these children early while we're teaching them about Black history and Black excellence, and teaching them about history in general, about government. We need to encourage them to be leaders. They literally are the future. It starts with us, but it ends with them.
Yeah.
So I just want to make sure I said that, because I was very excited about voting for him.
Listen, I was nervous. When he won, I was still in Oklahoma. When he won, I was scared to celebrate on the elevator. When I went to the office building, I was going up to the office. I was so excited in the elevator, but I was so quiet because I was the only Black person on the elevator. And I was just like, I was so excited inside. And then like for months, years, I was like, please don't let anybody. But you know, that's what I'm saying. Like, that's that conditioning. And that's why, again, we're going to continue to use our voice, because that, if I could go back, I would take away so many of the years that I was worried about the things I didn't need to be worried about. You know, maybe I needed a John Hope to come and say, hey, You stop that. You stop that. And,
Well, now you're
I was just
John
about to
Hope.
say that.
And Judge Bailey is a John Hope, and that's what
Absolutely.
you're doing with your
Yeah.
with your platform right now. That's what she's doing with her platform, is saying no, stop that. Just tell
Yeah.
it. Keep on. That's exactly what we're doing.
so listen,
love
those of you out there watching, this has been Knowledge or Nonsense. Well, we vet, is it knowledge or is it nonsense? And so some of the things we said, we even exposed some of our knowledge. I mean, some of our nonsense as well as our knowledge. So, hey, let's vet it, see what it is. And if it is nonsense, it's okay. You have the right to let it go. You don't have to hold it. You have the right and the privilege, and I dare say responsibility, to pick up the knowledge and run with the knowledge. And so, ladies, again, thank you so much, Vonda. I'm excited about the upcoming election. Thank you both for spending time with us. Vanessa, I hope I'm able to see you on the 27th when we're up there for the Black Wall Street for
Yes.
the showing of the movie. But
Please
yeah,
do.
thank you, ladies, so much, and God bless.
And vote for Judge Bailey.
Thank you.
Vote for Judge Bailey. Let's do it. If I can see me, when I see me. I said I was taking if out of my dictionary. If,
Absolutely.
That's
and
right.
should
When.
left my dictionary. When I see me, I recognize I can be me even more.
That's right.
Even more.
And if you don't see you, go find you.
That's right.
You better come
Go
on.
find out where you are.
That's
right.
a whole
Yeah.
word, Vanessa. It's a whole
Right.
word.
That's what I'm talking about.
All right, ladies. Y'all be safe. God bless. We're signing off.
Bye-bye.
Thank you all so much.